On this episode of Region Automotive, I show you how I flipped this Saturn Astra to make a $1,900 profit with just 4 hours of work. My name is Jeremy, this is Region Automotive, and let's get to work. Okay, so the first issue we're going to address is we have our check engine light on. And if I scan the code, I get a P0365 camshaft position sensor B circuit. I searched up the code. It's most likely just a sensor, but for fun, I'm going to double check the wiring and then we'll check the resistance on the sensor, see what value we get there. So I'm just about to pull the camshaft position sensor. I know it's sensor B, so I searched up its exhaust camshaft. So obviously here's exhaust on the side of the head. And just looking at the wiring, actually, it feels pretty brittle and I can see the exposed wire on the one plug there actually, so we might have a bad plug versus a sensor, but I'm still going to unplug it and yeah, see that tab just broke right off. So I think a new wiring harness is in order no matter what, or a new plug, and then we'll check the resistance of our sensor, and if the resistance is good, then we'll just call it a bad plug. So we have a typical 3-wire sensor for the cam sensor there, or 3-wire plug. So the first one is a 5-volt reference, which is a black and white plug, and that is actually the one that looked a little suspect to me, like the wiring. But I have the car on. I have one lead, positive lead in the plug there, and then I have the negative lead on the battery, and we're getting 5 volts, so that's good. We're getting power there. Next, I'm checking the resistance across the other 2 wires, which are signal wires. So those wires are going to go back to the ECM right there, actually. And I'm getting 1365 ohms, so that's pretty good. I don't know what the exact spec is on that, but pretty much I'm just looking for OL, open loop, because that would mean there's a broken wire or something in the ECM, but I'm actually getting a reading that makes sense. So I'm calling the wiring good. But like I said, that plug is starting to, it feels like it's going to disintegrate. So I think I'll probably get a new plug as well. So that leads us to it needing a sensor, but just for fun, let's check the resistance across the sensor. All right, well, this is where I need the electrical expert's help. Because yeah, I'm across the ground in the signal on the sensor, and at my 200 scale ohms, nothing. Then I get a reading at my 2000 scale, I get 592. But then if I go to 20K, nothing. 200K, nothing. Okay, now I'm getting nothing all across the board. Before I was getting a value at like 20,000, 200,000. Oh yeah, okay, there you go. So at 2,000 kilo ohms, I'm getting a reading at 957 as well. If I just got that reading, that'd be way too high, I think. But I'm also getting that reading at 2000 scale. But anyway, I'm getting different readings, and I'm pretty confident that the sensor and the harness is going to fix our issue. So I'm going to get that on order. Next up on the list was this glove box. Obviously just hanging loosely there. I originally thought that the glove box might have broke, and I was going to go to the junkyard and see if I could find one. But looking at the clips there, everything looks to be intact, and it has like this system like where it slides in on the notch and clicks up. So I'm going to see, I might be able to just click that back in and that's just fixed. Awesome. That's literally all that needed. That fits in nice and tight. Works, there's no gaps. Handle's a little sticky, but that's fine. Yeah, sweet. That's literally all that needed, was just to be clicked back in. I may try to lubricate that handle, we'll see. So now, next on the list, we actually have the part, hopefully here, is, let me get that light. This broken mirror is cracked, so I'm gonna open this up. Hopefully, I mean, obviously, why else would this be in there? So I'm going to open this up. Hopefully it's there. It's not broken. And this guy should just pop out. Usually they pop out. And then hopefully, again, this is the right one and it pops right in. So I have the old mirror popped out here. And I actually opened the kit. And looking at the instructions, for certain mirrors, you're actually meant to use these special glue tabs they give you, adhesive patch. And you just put it right over top of the broken mirror. So I'm going to do that. I have the 3 patches here. This mirror fits the same shape. Like I said, I peeled that off just to see if I could pop this out of the bracket, but I cannot, so I'm not going to mess with that. So I'm just going to, use those 3 patches and put it right over top of that glass. All right, well, this is coming together quicker than I expected. I apologize, the background noise, my neighbor's scraping out there. Anyway, this is coming together quicker than I expected with that easy fix for the glove box and the mirror. So yeah, I think I'm going to go to the junkyard and see if I can get that harness. I checked online, I can't really find it. Yeah, so I'm going to go to the junkyard. Maybe if I find a new looking sensor and I test it and it looks good, I may just grab it from the junkyard. If not, I found I can order a sensor online. And then I'll probably do an oil change on this just for good measure, because obviously I've done so little work. But in the meantime, I have a bit of time today, so I'm just going to start detailing. Like, yeah, this might be the least amount of time I spent on one. But anyway, I'm going to, just vacuum all the sand, vacuum the seats here, and then wipe the panels. The panels have a bit of coffee or dirt or whatever on them. It shouldn't take me more than, I don't know, an hour, 45 minutes probably. I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time on this. So we are at my favorite place to get parts, which is the junkyard. Really nice day out today actually, which is good, but just turned into an absolute mud bath in here. Spring in Canada. Anyway, we have our Saturn Astra here. Looks like this guy's actually leaking oil from the valve cover quite a bit, but which is good because it might have preserved this plug, so the wire is way more intact at the plug there. So I'm going to just pull it out. I'll probably go like halfway up here, snip that wire, take that plug, and then I'm going to test the resistance on both of these cam sensors because they should be the same. And hopefully one of them gives me numbers that make sense. So I have the driver's side sensor here hooked up to the same 2 plugs, and I'm getting a number I think that makes sense. So I'm on the 2000 scale, so 664 ohms. If I change scales, doesn't show anything. Okay, I lied. On the 2000 scale, I'm getting 1685. So I'm not too sure what's going on here. I'll definitely need your help in the comments, but see now that if I go back, okay, no, it takes a sec. Maybe because such high resistance. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to grab both of these. They'll be super cheap, and I'll just keep swapping them out. Hopefully something works. I got the plug, which is good. And then hopefully one of these work. If not, I will just get a new one. Okay, guys. I have something pretty cool for you. So I was confused why I was getting a different resistance on the sensor at the junkyard. And then also why I was getting such a high resistance when I was checking the wiring. So then I asked our friend ChatGPT.
Hey everyone, so the difference in resistance readings is because the sensor has internal electronics that show varying impedance depending on the meter's range. And the high resistance in the wiring harness is due to the ECM's internal circuitry, which has a high impedance input. Pretty cool to understand what's going on behind the scenes, right?
Right. So what's my best way to check if I have a bad sensor or not, camshaft position sensor?
The best way is to check the sensor's signal while the engine is cranking or running. You can use a multimeter or an oscilloscope to see if there's a pulsed voltage signal coming from the sensor. If the sensor is working properly, you should see a series of pulses as the camshaft rotates. If there's no signal or it's not consistent, that's a strong indication the sensor might be faulty. You can also check for the correct reference voltage and a good ground connection to ensure the sensor is getting proper power.
Can I also check that signal on my Autel scanner?
Absolutely. Your Autel scanner should be able to read the live data from the camshaft position sensor. Just go into the live data menu on your scanner and look for the camshaft position sensor signal. If the sensor is working, you'll see the signal data changing as the engine turns. If the scanner shows no change or an erratic signal, that's a strong clue the sensor might be faulty.
All right, you heard it here, folks. Let's go downstairs and see if our friend is right. Well, unfortunately, my Autel does not have this car stored. Like if I go to manual, to the year 2009, passenger car, Saturn, does not have the model. I tried scanning, doing a read VIN. It read the VIN, but it wouldn't let me get into the diagnostic module. I searched up the engine code. I tried like similar cars that had the similar engine. They would not let me get in. So I'm going to try updating the program. And in the meantime, I'm just going to swap the cam sensor and just quit overthinking it. I mean, obviously I'm trying to get the full diagnostic process for you guys, and it's just kind of fun for me, but I'm just going to swap the sensor, clear the light, go for a quick drive, and see if the light comes back on. I got the old sensor out. It's quite easy to get out. It's just this one. For some reason, they use an e-Torx bolt. So obviously, just remove the e-Torx bolt, pull the sensor out, disconnected clip. And I did notice on the old sensor, actually, there's quite a bit of carbon on it. So obviously that's an indicator that the engine oil wasn't changed regularly, but even that bit of carbon on the end of the sensor could affect our reading. So that could be why we're getting the same readings or whatever across all the sensors. Just for fun, to try to prove that theory, I'm going to clean this sensor off and then put it back in. I'm going to try to like clean the bore out. I might spray some brake clean or something. Mass airflow sensor, that might actually work pretty good just to break up the carbon. But yeah, I'm going to clean everything up, throw this back in, and then go for a drive just out of curiosity, see if that fixed it. So I have the clean sensor back in. We're going to erase the codes. Erase successful. So now I'm going to go for a drive, and I will... Oh, no, okay. That's just the emission. So I'm going to go for a drive, and I'll let you guys know if the code comes back on or not. All right, guys, I don't want to get my hopes up, but last time I cleared the code and I took the car for a drive when I didn't touch anything, the light came on before I got out of my complex, my townhouse complex. And I went on the complex, and I've just drove down the road. No lights yet. Last time this came on, but there's no light on the dash. So I turned the car off, opened the door, close the door, lock it like you're leaving, and then I unlock, open the door, car's coming, open the door, close the door like I'm getting back in the car, start it, and that light went off right away. Let's see what our scanner says here. Still no code, so I think that sensor literally just needed to be cleaned. I'm going to go for another drive, and then we'll head back to my place and I'll report back. So we're back at my place and still no lights, and then no code. So yeah, I'll just shut the car off, do the same process. Still no lights, guys. That's funny. That's literally all that needed was to clean the carbon off that sensor. To tell you the truth, not, to pretend like the big smart guy knowing the problem after we fixed it, but I was a little skeptical because whatever ChatGPT was saying there, how like the sensors will give different readings on different scales because of impedance, voltage, whatever, I don't know. But to me, one thing did seem suspicious is that all three of our sensors had the same off, quote unquote, off readings. Between like when I was reading with my multimeter there, it was a little weird to me that we're getting the same reading on the 2000 scale and then the 200,000 scale. So yeah, the chances of all three sensors being bad were pretty low. So that's why I asked ChatGPT, and he explained to us why the reading is different. So again, I was still skeptical. I'm like, okay, well, maybe there's nothing wrong with our sensor. Maybe it's the wiring, but we checked the wiring as well. But the fact that we cleaned the sensor, it's not coming back. That explains everything. So yeah, anyway, I'm glad I figured that out. That's something new I learned. Hopefully that's new for you guys as well. I think that deserves a subscribe if you haven't already. Yeah, so now I'm still going to get under the hood though and install that wiring harness because there was that exposed wire on it. So this specific harness actually makes it quite easy to repair because it's literally just this single harness like in this plastic cap. So I just took that cap off, and I'm just going to snip the wires probably right here, and then I'll get the same length of my new harness here that I got from the junkyard. And then I got, where are they? The heat shrink connectors. If you guys watch where I repaired the wiring in that Dodge van, I really like these. So I got these, and then yeah, I figured I'd put them down there. I might stagger it. I don't know. I'm going to play around and get these mated up here. Should be quite easy, but the hardest part is I forgot my wire. Well, I left my wire strippers at the shop, and I'm in my garage now, so I'm going to have to figure out how to strip back all these wires with just these side cutters. So let's see what I can do here. Okay, so I'm doing my first blue wire there. I have the wires wrapped together and then the heat shrink, like the solder part of the connector over top of the wires. And then I got my wife's little handy dandy hobbyist heat gun here. It's quite handy when I used it last time. And then I put the block underneath just because I don't want to get the plastic underneath melting. And then this process is quite satisfying. So I'll show you guys here. And then this stuff melts, this glue like melts and makes a seal around the wire. I can smell the wood getting hot actually. That stuff melts, forms a seal around the wire. So that is one wire. So I'm gonna just blow, obviously cool that down, and then I will do the other two wires. So I have the sensor plugged in, the new one, and then I have, that's exactly where I wanted those three to end up, just kind of right in that middle bridge there. So those will lay flat, then obviously just goes through, plugs in. Put the cap back on here, whichever way, goes this way. Put the cap back on, and it's like it never even happened. Awesome. So the reason why that glove box was half off earlier and the handle is sticky is because this tab isn't working. So when I pull the handle, you'll see that guy go in and out, but this guy will not go in and out. So that's why it's sticking before, and that's why the previous owner was messing with the glove box. So luckily there's only one Saturn at the Junkyard, but I was able, the glove box was actually already pulled. I was worried that someone took it, but usually people will pull parts when they need to get to something and then just throw the parts in the trunk of the car. So I found this in the trunk of the car, and both tabs go in there when I pull the handle. So I'm just gonna click that back in. Perfect. So that's actually quite easy. Again, just slide in those tabs. Got that working nice. The latch actually works properly. So that's good. And then I don't know if I showed you guys earlier, but I did finish detailing the car that day. So it actually is coming together quite well. So the last thing we'll do on this thing is an oil change. And let's take photos and list it. The oil filter is in a less than ideal location right beside the hot exhaust manifold. Good thing it cooled down enough when I was driving it a bunch of times. It's cool now, so before I even put it on the ramps, I'm going to get that filter off. And it's also less than ideal size. Luckily, I had a one-off 24 mil socket, so again, I'm just going to loosen that. It's a cartridge filter, so I'm just going to loosen that and then swap out. I got a new cartridge filter, and then we'll put up on ramps, drain the old oil. I'm actually curious how this old oil looks now, considering how much sludge and carbon we saw on that sensor. Another reason why it's less than ideal is because right by the exhaust manifold, so you always get oil on the freaking manifold. And then you can see that engine mount there, just covered in oil from doing oil changes. So I try to like just clean. I mean, that stuff will burn off when we drive, and so will spray clean. But just try to get some of that stuff off so it doesn't seem like you have a freaking oil leak when the car's parked. Okay, I have the plug loose. Let's take a look-see at the oil together here. Not too bad, honestly. Like, it's dirty, but still, like, slippery, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, sometimes it's so black, you can't see through it, and it just looks dull, like the viscous properties are gone. I don't know. I could be wrong, but anyway, that actually doesn't look too bad. So maybe that sludge is just built up in that little cavity, or you know, obviously maybe this oil was changed 2,000-3,000 K ago or something. So regardless, I'll get this cleaned up, everything cleaned up, put back on, put fresh oil in, and then we'll take some photos. I actually bought this washer kit as well, because yeah, this is one of those like drain seals or whatever, and I could tell is leaking out of the plug. And almost every time I change oil, it's leaking out of the seal because no one changes these. So yeah, I bought this at our Canadian Harbor Freight. I call it the Princess Auto. That's where I got those whatever these are, gauge interconnects. So anyway, I got this kit so I can just fit this is copper washer, an aluminum washer. I'll fit the every time I change oil and the washer looks totally flat, I'll just change it to the best fitting one here. All right, guys, that is all she wrote on this one. It really didn't need much work. I'm not too sure if you watched my previous videos or not, but I said it was kind of my goal to find these cars that need less mechanical work and just kind of spend more time finding the right deal versus buying the first cheap one that I find that needs mechanical work. So this is a perfect example of that. I looked at what was it, 3 cars before this one. They're all crap except this one. I got there first. Price seemed reasonable. We'll talk about the price in a sec once it sells. Price seemed reasonable for what it was, so I checked it out, and yeah, just had those small things that we went over, like the engine light, airbag, mirror, and yeah, just cleaned it up, looking pretty good. And then, you know, my my rule is I like to find kind of a neutral background, like usually a park or a nice field or school or something, and then I take photos of the car with the nice background, and then the car mostly fill in the photo. So I'll insert them now, and then once the car sells, we'll discuss the numbers. All right, the car has sold. The selling process wasn't too bad. I listed it, and then I actually had quite a bit of messages in the first day. I think I had a guy look at it the day I listed it. He was kind of weird, I don't know, you're just kind of being weird and shady, and he came here in a cab, and I don't know, he seemed pretty like he wanted a car, but I don't think he liked my price, and he was trying to tell me that needed a head gasket because the under the cap was oily or slippery in the smell, and I wasn't buying it. I've gone through many cars, and I think this guy was just trying to pull a fast one on me to get a better price, so he was a no-go. And then I had a family come look at it for their son, and they quite liked it. Yeah, the guy was quite particular. I think we spent about an hour going over the car, which is fine. You know, I don't blame people when they're pretty thorough going through the car. I would do the same thing. So yeah, anyway, they ended up looking at it. I had it listed for $4,900. There's a couple little things that they noticed which I don't disagree with, so we agreed on $4,500. Yeah, so we'll go over the costs. I bought the car for $2,500. And then, as we saw in the video, it really didn't need much. It's just kind of more tinkering around, just fixing small things. So that glove box at the junkyard was 15 bucks. Oil change was $60. And then the reason why I said the guy was kind of particular that bought it, I think it had a quarter tank of gas or something. And he bought the vehicle, signed the paperwork, and then he forgot his plate in a surrounding town that was half an hour away. So he went back to get his plate, and then he's gonna pay me when he came back. And then on the way back, his wife texted me and asked if I could put gas in the car so they could make it back to their town. Usually that's kind of, I don't know, I thought it was a weird request, but whatever. I was happy enough, obviously, with the numbers, so I went out and put 30 bucks of gas into it. So yeah, that brought my total expenses to $2,605, but we'll just round down to $2,600 for easy math. And then, like I mentioned, I ended up selling it for $4,500. So if you take that $4,500, subtract $2,600, that gave us a total profit of $1,900. So it's not too bad, not my highest profit, but like I said, I'm kind of really just looking for lower headache factor these days. So we'll go over the hours, and then the hourly rate will make a lot more sense. So sourcing the vehicle, like I said, I was quite particular about the vehicle I bought, so I ended up looking at 3 vehicles before I bought this one. So I figured about 4 hours total looking at vehicles. And then miscellaneous fixes, like I said, glove box, kind of messing around with that cam sensor, changing the oil, whatever, 4 hours for that. And then selling, just listing, taking photos, showing to a couple guys, 2 hours. So that's total time of 10 hours. And if you take my profit of $1,900 divided by 10 hours, that gives me $190 an hour. So it's pretty good. Again, not my best rate, but obviously I can't complain with that. And the headache was very low on that one, so I'm definitely not complaining. And yeah, that's my flip video on this Saturn Astra, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you did. And I actually already purchased our next one, and that should be coming out once that sells, so stick around for that. Thanks, guys.